welcome to the Dev Morning Show at Night. My name is Cassidy Williams, and I am your host, and I am accompanied by my lovely co-host, Zach. How are you doing, Zach?
I'm doing great. I'm Zach. I'm the co-host, not with the most, but I'm trying.
Co-host with the regular amount. And we are accompanied by a lovely guest today, Rizel. Rizel works at GitHub. She's a developer advocate and employee resource group lead there. Rizel, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me. It's really exciting that I get to even talk to you.
Are you kidding me? I love all of your content. You're always writing the best blog posts and putting out really good Twitter spaces and stuff. It's really exciting to have you on the show.
Thanks.
So what are you working on right now, Rizel?
Right now I'm working on a lot. Well, to start, at GitHub I've mostly been focused on early career developers. So introducing them to different new GitHub features and then open source as well. So I've been working on this segment, I guess, called Open Source Friday. So I either do a Twitter space with a maintainer or a Twitch stream, whatever I feel like that day. And I also write a little blog recap on the GitHub blog called Open Source Monthly about the open source projects that really stood out to me. And then I have other web dev projects in the works, I guess, but not ready to talk about them yet.
Nice. So you're not busy at all.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot.
I like this, though. It's fun.
Yeah. No, it is. It's one of those things where if you have a lot of variety of work, you never get fully bored. And so you can kind of keep busy, especially in a pandemic when you never know when you won't be able to do something else. So what does a typical day-to-day look like for you?
Oh, that's it. I mean, you're a developer advocate.
I know. There's no such thing as a typical day-to-day, but still.
Okay, I will say I kind of wake up a little bit late because everybody is on the West Coast and I'm on the East Coast. So I feel like I could get that time a little bit. I wake up a little bit later and then I'll probably check my emails, check Slacks, just make sure everything's good. Check Twitter. That's important too. Got to see what's going on in the Twitterverse. But then after that, I will probably either if it's a Monday, I'll probably reach out to a maintainer and be like, hey, do you want to have a Twitter space or a Twitch stream with me? I'll probably write a blog post. There's probably automation within a GitHub repo that I could do or contribute to. So I like to do that because I don't get to code as much anymore and I want to keep my coding skills fresh.
Yes.
And yeah, and then maybe there's a Blacktocats meeting, which Blacktocats is the GitHub ERG, and I recently joined the leadership team. So maybe there's a meeting for the leaders or the actual group itself, and then after that I'll just that's the end of my day. I'll go to the gym and sleep.
Good for you for fitting the gym and all that. So what does it mean to lead an employee resource group? Because you mentioned that you might have a meeting on occasion here or there, but yeah. I know that these kinds of groups provide so much value to employees.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still figuring that out too, because I just got this position maybe 2 weeks ago. But
nice.
So far,
Congrats.
Thanks y'all. But so far, it's just been making sure that they have their voices heard and they feel like it's a safe space for them to talk and be supported.
Yeah, totally. And I think once again, feeling supported and heard. There was a quote that I heard the other day that I feel like really encompasses it, because when you have these resource groups, when you're working on anything that promotes diversity and inclusion and everything, it's not so much about just having a lot of people who look like a lot of different people, which it is, don't get me wrong, it is, but it is about being supported and heard. It's about knowing that people understand what you're saying and can act on that and just not being pushed aside or just not being heard at all.
Yeah. Completely agree. I feel like you really described that well.
Thanks.
The Dev Morning Show at Night is a sponsored podcast. I mean, someone has to pay the bills around here. We're sponsored by LaunchDarkly, and LaunchDarkly is the first scalable feature management platform. That means dev teams can innovate and get better software to customers faster. How? By gradually releasing new software features and shipping code whenever they want, fast-tracking their journeys to the cloud, and building stronger relationships with business teams. Thanks for the money, LaunchDarkly.
Anyway, let's move on to our first, real segment. Oh gosh, this is why we shouldn't have ads, and I would get into why capitalism. Anyway, could you talk a bit more about dev advocacy as a whole? Because all of us are dev advocates on this call right here, but it does kind of mean something different to everybody who's in the job because it's not standardized. So what does your job typically look like, Rizel?
Yeah, well, to start with what it means to me, it's empowering developers to do their job best, at least. That's the understanding I have. And then for me, my advocacy at GitHub, I know a lot of people do feedback and stuff like that. I haven't gotten a chance to really delve into that part of getting friction logs and stuff. But my advocacy has mostly been around creating content for that is easy for people to consume and digest and be able to accomplish what they need to get done. So if GitHub comes out with a new way to do actions or code spaces, or they came out with the Copilot thing that allows you to translate, I'm trying
which
to
is magical, by the way.
I know, it's so awesome. Yeah. And I jumped on that opportunity to just be okay, here are use cases for it, because people are thinking it's just a fun thing. I'm it has practical use cases, and then here's how to get the best out of it. So to me, that's what my job looks like. And then at GitHub, what I like the most is that it's easy to collaborate. I feel maybe at some developer advocate roles, you gotta stay in your box. This is what you do, but I can hit up the education team or the diversity team or the brand team or whatever and be hey, want to do this together? And they'll be yeah, sure, let's do it.
That's awesome, because I feel this, you mentioned, this role can span so many different aspects and responsibilities, and it's cool that you're not just focused on just making blog content or YouTube content or whatever that might be. You can hit up someone on another team and be hey, let's go make an example project together to showcase this one thing. And that's one thing when I first joined developer advocacy relations, whatever, was a really cool aspect of it. There's just so much to do.
There is. I love that. And it works for me because when I was working as a software engineer, feedback I will always get is you're always distracted, you need to focus. So I'm now.
And now that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, okay, another question. What terminal or editor do you use on your day-to-day?
Yeah. So I'm pretty boring now. When I was a software engineer, I was using Z Shell and stuff like that. Now I'm just the basics. So I'm either using Visual Studio Code or Code Spaces, but I use the Panda theme because I really like the pink letters. And then I used to use Z Shell, but I'm pretty sure my terminal right now has no customization. It's just regular Degla and let me see, what else do I use? I think that's it. I'm pretty bare bones. I can't live without code spaces now though, for some reason. But I'm just using the basics.
So you mentioned that you were in software engineering before you were a dev advocate. What got you into the industry in the first place?
Yeah, so the way I got into this industry is kind of long. I'll try to keep it short. So, okay.
You don't have to. We got plenty of time. And editors.
Okay, so I started off as a psychology major in college just because I was I don't know, I'm 18. Maybe I want to learn about how people think. But
shocking.
Then
a teenager isn't sure what they're gonna do.
I was I don't know. So I just picked something. But then for me, finances were tight, And people were like telling me, oh, you gotta like get a master's if you like want to actually make money and get a job in this field. And I was like, oh, I barely have money for like this semester. So I ended up like not even being able to pay for the next semester, and I had to drop out of college. And I was like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna like rethink what I want to do in life, because this doesn't seem like a smart move. So I like started Googling like what jobs make the most money, and like tech kept popping up. And I was like, okay, I know how to use a computer. I could do that. I enrolled in community college for computer information systems. I started working as an IT person, really loved the aspect of like helping people. But the role, like, there's two problems for me. One, I felt like I kind of picked up everything pretty quickly, and I was like, okay, if I'm like 20 and I already know how to do all this, like, I don't know if I could do this for the rest of my life. I'll get bored. And then two, dang, I forgot the second reason, but there's like a whole bunch of reasons. Basically, like, I heard people talking about like coding and stuff. I'm like, this seems way cooler, something to push me, something more proactive. Yeah, that was my other reason. Like, I felt like IT was just like, oh, you broke this, here, let me help you. Whereas like I'm like, there's something more proactive I could probably do that will like make the user experience better than me just being like, oh, that the button's actually right there, you can click it, right? So
did you try turning it on and off again?
Yeah. Very, very basic. So then I looked into software engineering. I was like, cool, I can like help people way better this way, and really influence them. And so I went to a coding boot camp called Resilient Coders. It was like a nonprofit coding boot camp for Black and brown people. Really good. Became a software engineer. But I didn't have like a good experience as a software engineer, because I was at like different like toxic companies. I was like at startups that had like 20 people or like 7 people, and I just felt like I was not good as a software engineer. Looking back, I was pretty bomb, but I thought I wasn't good.
I love that you have that insight.
Yeah, like in hindsight, I was killing it, but I was like, oh my god, I'm not good. And then also I just missed like helping people. Like, I'm like, at least I would miss the like person aspect where I was like talking to people and stuff like that. And then like I didn't know what to do, because I was like, oh, this is like a high paying job, I shouldn't leave it. But on the side, I was like helping to create this program called G Code, which taught women of color and non-binary people of color to code. And like I got to create like slide decks for them and like demos and stuff like that. And I was like training the teachers, and I was like showing the students how to do stuff. And I'm like, dang, I wish I could do this as a job. Like, I was like, I wish I could, because like the nonprofit didn't have like as much money, so I'm like, I don't know about doing that full time. But I was like, I wish I could like do slide decks, create content, do talks, and still code. I'm like, that doesn't exist. But I realized on Twitter, like people like you, Brian Douglas, Angie, I was like, wait a minute, I can't do this. So yeah, that's when I started like really like heavily looking into it, like applying to different jobs and interviewing. And I didn't really prep much. Like, I know a lot of people do prep. I usually use the interviews to figure out where I fall short. So I did like...
I do the same thing, actually.
Oh, you do? Okay,
yeah.
Perfect. Because I'm like, I don't have time for this 6-month prepping. Like, just, I'm okay with failing. You do you feel the same, Zach?
I feel the exact same, yeah.
Okay.
It's just so much to prep for. And like, it's a good thing to study and to keep up your chops and stuff. But also, if you're interviewing for a job, you should be able to do the job. And this is also like, job interviews should also be relevant in general to what you're going to be doing. And so I agree with you. I think it's kind of good to figure out where your gaps are in the interview process.
Yeah. I'm like, I usually go in, I'm like, I'm going to fail this, but like, it's just to see where like I'm falling short. And then people will be like, yeah, so like you probably should read like the release notes and stuff like that for this company. I'm like, okay, cool, now I know what to do. And then GitHub popped up on my Twitter timeline, and I was like, I'm ready for this job. So I applied, and then I got it.
That is awesome.
Amazing.
I love that you bounced to so many different things and ended up here, because you have like the perfect breadth of experience to know exactly what you want, at least at this point in time.
Thank you. Yeah, me too. I thought it was like good that I like got to see what everything was like. So now I know.
And I also feel like in this role, I'm increasingly seeing a lot of people who like didn't really mean to get into this space. Like they started off in like one side of the world or like in this whole other headspace doing like, I want to, you know, do whatever, like another major or something like that. And then they end up like realizing, oh, I like, you know, the customer facing aspects of it or the content creation part of things. And then they just like happen upon this kind of role. And it's really cool to hear like different people's stories, you know, how they walk into this space.
Yeah, it is. Even like people who have like non-coding backgrounds. Like I'm always interested and I'm like, wow, how did you keep up with us? And then also like, how did you discover this? I don't know, but like I love hearing their stories too.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And one of the things that you said I love, and the fact that you said looking back, I was killing it. Like sometimes when you're not, or you think you're not doing well at a job, it's not because you're not a good coder or something. It's just because it doesn't align with your interests. And I think that is a very big thing that a lot of people struggle with because they're just like, I've studied this, I should do this, I should be good at it, etc. And sometimes it's just not necessarily what you want to do.
Yeah, definitely. I was like, I don't want to code all day. I like coding, but I want to like mix it up.
All right, let's move on to the next segment. It's going to be rapid fire. We're going to be asking you a series of questions back and forth, and we will answer them as fast as possible. So first of all, first question. We all have a domain name, or 10. What is one that you're squatting on?
I'm not squatting on any. I always make the site first before I buy the domain.
That is genius. I don't understand.
You have to have the product first? What?
Weird.
I can't trust myself.
That's honestly pretty smart. Would save so much money.
All right, next question. What is the most recent thing you over-optimized?
Ooh, easy. There's this invite automation thing that I made for GitHub. When people add themselves to an org or like star an org, I like over-optimize that to the point that I'm pretty sure it's broken. Yeah.
I actually might want to use that because it's a very manual process and an automation for that would be amazing.
Ooh.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll over-optimize it more. Go ahead.
Yeah. What is your golden rule for coding?
Ooh, my golden rule for coding is just code it all out first and then go back and refactor. Kind of like what I do for writing. Yeah.
All right. What's your favorite it depends question?
Ooh, if you need a merge squash or rebase or merge commit, like all those different ones, that's my it depends.
Ooh, that is a good one because so many people have opinions. What is the oldest piece of tech that you own?
Ooh, that's a good question. Probably an old Mac. It's like 2008. Yeah.
Ooh, that is an old one.
Yeah. Not too old, but
yeah, you know.
Medium old.
Medium old. Nice. All right. Have you ever written a piece of cringy code?
I write cringy code all the time, every day. I always go back. I'm like, who did this? It's me.
You could blame yourself.
All right. What's your most used emoji?
The crying one with the both tears. Because, like, it's either me laughing crying or me really crying. And that's where I'm always at.
It's all just crying in the end. Now it is time for our random segment generator. We have a bunch of segments that we will randomly pick from, and then we will ask you questions based on those segments. Okay, and the first segment is Dev Oops. So, could you tell us about a thing that you broke and the story behind that?
Yeah, so I broke a new feature that I made, I guess.
Oh, no.
Well, yeah. Okay, so basically, at one of the companies I worked at, I made a translation tool. It was like it was a chatbot. You can say that, yeah. So basically, people have to respond in by saying yes, like, and then the conversation will keep flowing. And I added like a translation tool for it, so that like Spanish speakers and other like people who don't natively speak Spanish can like join in and like say C or whatever language they speak in. The thing I broke is I didn't realize that people like write the word C without the little accent mark on top of it sometimes.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I guess that's casual like talk for them if they're texting or just typing. So I like made it like a hard and fast rule that it had to have the little accent on it, and nobody could opt in to doing the chat messages. And
Oh,
everyone was
no.
like, "Oh my God, what's going on? None of the Spanish speakers are able to opt in." And I was like, "I don't understand." And yeah, so that's what I broke.
Oh, that's such like a very, very small set of pixels to mix up to
Yeah,
and cause so much destruction.
yeah.
It's a good one. Our next segment is what are you most proud of? So, tell me about something that you shipped recently that you created or are really proud of.
Yeah, so this is not necessarily, well, I have two things. I'll make them fast. The first one is not a code thing. The first one is G code. Like, I'm really proud that I'm not the founder, but I did help to like create the program from the like bottom up. And like, I'm really proud that I was able to like help four cohorts of like 15 to 20 women of color like literally go from not knowing anything about coding to like now they can code, and some of them are like landing jobs at like Stitch Fix and stuff like that. So I'm really proud of that. And then like my code thing I'm proud of is I made a VS Code extension the other day that like enables you to deploy like a static web page to GitHub pages. And I thought that was fun because I haven't coded much. So yeah.
That's
Nice.
awesome. I mean, that first thing, it might not be code, but you're changing people's lives. And
Thank you.
that is something so, so amazing. Whether you're on the founding team or you just help out, the smallest things could change so much for lives down the line. And that's really amazing. And I just want to give you all the kudos for that.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
All right. We have one last segment. What's it going to be? Launch lightly. It's kind of like Launch Darkly, our sponsor, but it's light.
Sneaky.
What is your best advice for someone starting off in the software engineering world or in the tech world in general?
Yeah, my best advice is just like continue believing in yourself and don't compare yourself to other people. Like some people pick up things faster than other people, and some people are taking that time to like absorb that information. So just take your time with learning different things, and don't worry about other people, because I used to, and that was not good for me.
Yeah. There's this quote from Mark Twain, comparison is the death of joy. And I think it's a very, very real thing. And I love that you said that, because people have not only different speeds, but also just different interests and different paths that they want to go on. And so it's good to kind of see the possibilities in front of you when you look at people who are further ahead in their careers, but don't compare yourself and be just like, I'm a failure because I'm not at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well said.
And to add on to that, my partner Grady's at a tech conference right now for like VueConf somewhere in Florida, and he was just mentioning before he left, like, oh, like I'm worried like I'm not going to know enough about Vue. I haven't worked with it long enough or anything, but he's been telling me over just these past few days, like, oh my gosh, there's so many people coming from like so many different walks of like experience, and it was just really he was saying how cool it was to like interact with, really like experts who people who are like experts in Vue, but also just people starting out, even coding and all this good stuff. And it's really cool to see that at conferences and stuff.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I really love that. And you like you said, like you never know, like your little bit of experience or your like niche experience may be able to like help somebody else. Love that.
Yeah, or just encourage someone where like if you also don't know something and being open about not knowing it, there might be someone else who's just like, oh, you don't know this either? Oh, thank goodness. And little things, it can be
Yes.
really helpful.
For sure.
Yes, that's my favorite part.
Yeah. If you could undo one thing in your career, what would it be?
Ooh, I think I would start off at a job that gave me more mentorship and encouragement at the beginning of my career. Yeah. Cause I think I just jumped straight in and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then it's like a startup and they're like, we don't have time to help you figure out what you're doing. So yeah, I think I would have interviewed companies just as much as they're interviewing me to make sure that like I was going to be set up in a good spot.
Yeah, it's hard to know to do that, I think, for people who are fresh into the industry and stuff, that you can and you should be interviewing the companies that you are interviewing with. But especially when you're trying to get your foot in the door, it's kind of nerve-wracking to think that way. But it's so important to be aware of that.
Yeah. I was definitely in the mindset of like, I just need to get a job and these people want me.
Yeah, for sure. So what are you excited about in the world of software and tech now?
I want us to take open source more seriously and like make sure that it's diverse and inclusive, and I think we're like going in that right step. Like GitHub has this thing called All In, and they're basically like introducing students of color from HBCUs to open source, and like there's just all these different opportunities. I'm seeing more Black maintainers and stuff like that, and I'm really excited about that because at one point I thought that open source was not for me and I didn't even realize that there was money in open source. So yeah, I'm just excited for open source and how it can continue to evolve.
I agree with you completely. I think open source is going to be eating the world of software more and more because it just makes sense. You can get so many great community contributions. You can build better software because it's transparent and open. More people can figure out like, oh, there's a bug here, there's a bug there. It's basically free testing. It's good for recruiting. There's so many great things in open source. And so I absolutely agree with you. That being said, I think that's it. Rizel, thank you so much for being with us today. It was so awesome getting to talk to you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This was really fun.
Yeah, it was awesome to learn about your background and G-code and everything surrounding that space.
Thank you.
Would you mind telling us where can people find you on the internet? And could you tell us a little bit more about G-code too and where people can find that as well?
Yes, so you can find me on the internet at Black Girl Bites on Twitter. Well, literally on everything you can find me at Black Girl Bites, but Twitter is where I'm most active. And then for G-Code, our website is thegcodehouse.com. And you can find out like if you wanted to volunteer or if you wanted to join the program. It's all on that website, so just go there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And we will see you in the Twitter sphere then.
Alrighty. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
So I have some sage advice for you today. And my advice for you today is don't stress out too much about practicing for interviews. We talked a little bit about it on the podcast today, but there are so many times where I've spoken with people where they say, oh, you know what, I want to get a new job because I really don't like my current one, but I have to practice and everything. And so I'll wait for a less stressful time in my life to practice for interviews so I can interview. Don't do that. It is a waste of so much of your time and mental energy because you are already in a job that you don't like. Just start applying and interviewing. And it's a numbers game too. Keep applying to as many jobs as you can. Try to go for ones that you're not fully interested in first so that you can get interview practice under your belt. And also, you never know if a job that you're not fully interested in could end up being something that you are really excited about. And so get that practice in under your belt and do it live rather than practicing a bunch with a book and then kind of freezing when you actually get into the interview process. Good luck. And once again, because making podcasts is expensive, this show is brought to you by Launch Darkly. Launch Darkly toggles peaks of 20 trillion feature flags each day, and that number continues to grow, and you should use them. You can head over to launchdarkly.com and learn about how. Thank you for making this show possible, Launch Darkly. It has been awesome. I have been Cassidy Williams. I'm head of developer experience and education at Remote, and I also do developer experience at OSS Capital. You can find me at Cassidoo, Cassidoo, on most things.
And I'm Zach, and I'm a developer advocate at Rive. You can find me on Twitter at Zach Plata.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.